Okay guys, so we're going to do something a little different today because there's 193 countries. There's no way we're going to be able to do 193 country talks. So today we're going to combine 3 different countries that have a lot in common. So those countries are going to be United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Bahrain. Can you guys see all of those countries on the map?
Yes,
Yeah.
they're all in the near the desert of Saudi Arabia.
Right. They're all on the Arabian Peninsula,
Yeah.
right? They're all Arab countries. All 3 of them are on the Persian Gulf, which is this body of water that is on the Arabian Peninsula, and on the opposite side is Iran. They are all Muslim countries, just like all the countries on the Arabian Peninsula. So they have a lot of those things in common. Now, we know that there have been people in this part of the world for much, much longer than we have any kind of written history. We have skeletons of people that have been found here and traces of their culture from 100,000 years ago. And history only goes back about 5,000 years. So we really don't know anything until a couple of thousand years ago. We know that the people in these areas were camel herders, they fished, and they dove for pearls. And pearls were a very big industry, pearls from oysters in the Persian Gulf for a long time.
I never thought pearl.
And we know that these were some of the first countries to convert to Islam. Some of them during the time that Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, was still alive, and the rest very soon after he died. So almost 1,500 years, those countries have been practicing Islam. So things started kind of picking up in terms of like a Western perspective in the 16th century. That was when the first traders came from Europe for pearls mainly. Do you know which country in Europe the first traders would have come to?
Portuguese.
Portugal, right? The Portuguese were the most accomplished explorers in Europe in that time. And they were the first to get to South America. They were the first to get to much of Asia before the rest of Europe.
So they didn't kind of conquer.
They did not conquer. They really weren't strong enough to conquer those countries. So what they did was they established trading. They would get the pearls. They would take the pearls to India, sell the pearls in India. They would try and sell things in these countries.
Until England barged in.
So what ended up happening was that England finally showed up. England had a stronger navy than Portugal. They had more people, more wealth. So even though the Portuguese were the best explorers and the first ones there, the British were eventually able to basically kick the Portuguese out with some help from the Persians, who, that was what Iran used to be called, was Persia. So they were the Iranians, the Persians helped the British take out the Portuguese. So the British kind of made a deal with the people in these countries. They basically said, we're going to protect you, and you're going to, trade only with us, but you don't have to worry about being attacked by other countries, and we are going to kind of settle any disputes. We're going to handle all your foreign relations. The United Arab Emirates, of course, was not a country at this point. They were just a bunch of emirates. Emirates are like what they call little kingdoms in Arabia. The emir is like a prince or a king, the head of the little kingdom. So the emirate is his kingdom. So there were just a bunch of emirates on the coast. Since they had this truce with the Emirates, they wouldn't fight each other. They wouldn't fight the British. They started calling this the Trucial Coast after the truce that they made. And so, everything was okay over there. One thing that protected them from much larger powers on this side was, like Saudi Arabia, for example, was the huge desert that they call the empty quarter between the very populated western part of Saudi Arabia. So even though it looks like Saudi Arabia is right up against these Emirates, actually they had a big area over here of desert which no army really wanted to try and go through. So that's what allowed these countries to maintain their independence, so they didn't get taken over by countries like Saudi Arabia. So a couple of things happened that completely changed the economy of these countries in the early part of the 20th century. One is that the pearl industry completely collapsed. That was because of a worldwide depression, that people did not have as much money to spend on luxury items like pearls. The other major thing that happened was that India figured out how to make pearls inside oysters. They didn't have to just find them deep in the ocean and dive for them. So they ended up making many more pearls that were much cheaper. Nobody needed the pearls from the Persian Gulf anymore. Fortunately for these countries, they would have become very poor if they hadn't discovered something else in the water and in the land around these countries. Do you know what they discovered?
Oil?
Oil, exactly. Right then was when oil was becoming extremely important in the world, and natural gas, and they discovered very large deposits, and almost overnight these countries became very, very wealthy, and they started to build and develop their infrastructure, which means like the buildings, the transportation, and the ports. And these countries are now known as some of the wealthiest places in the world. They have some of the most amazing buildings and land that they've developed. So we're just going to start out by watching a video by drone of a city called Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, which is one of the wealthiest cities in the world, and travelers come from all over the world to see the amazing stuff that they've built there.
Dubai looks so amazing.
Yep.
Like the sailboat, I want to. Can we go to Dubai soon?
I don't know how soon we can go, but we definitely have it on the list.
That is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's 1,000 countries we're gonna go to, right?
Probably not
Look at
1,000,
those.
but I think there's about 30 or 40 that we'd like to go to.
Just look at those roads.
And just look.
That's the tallest building.
That's the tallest building in the world. It's called the Burj Dubai. It was just finished construction about 5 years ago.
Is that
I was 3 years old.
And it's by far the tallest building in the world. It's not even close.
an ocean?
That's an artificial lake.
No.
Oh, outside of it? Yeah. That's the Persian Gulf, Ian. You see it on the map? It's like a sea.
Yeah, and what do you do? Is it covered with sharks?
And I'm sure there are sharks there. There's a lot of fish there. But I wouldn't worry too much about sharks.
Why? They'll kill you.
Okay. Settle. Okay. That's called the Palm Island. They made those islands. Those, of course, are not natural. They built the island off with stuff they scooped from the bottom of the sea. They made it to look like a palm tree so that more people could live on the water. Look at the golden skyscraper.
Yeah.
Well, it was in the last. And of course, Dubai, all these places are right at the edge of the desert. There's very little habitable land close to the sea, and then very soon there's desert. So it probably only takes a couple of hours to get to the desert from Dubai.
Did they carve that themselves?
Yes, they made all of that. It's all man-made.
I can't believe it. This place is so amazing.
It's so amazing that I wish I
This
could
should
just...
definitely be on the list.
It's on the list.
Yeah.
It's a long way away, you know. It will take us more than 12 hours to get to Dubai.
I don't care.
One day,
It will take more than 12 hours of flying. It's a lot. But
Still, I don't care.
it's very hot. So we have to find the right time of year to go. So we
winter?
won't bake. They don't have winter.
I know, but it's at least cold.
Well,
Do they have any
I'm sure there's
earthquakes?
some time of year where it's cloudy.
Dad, are they on the Ring of Fire?
They are not on the Ring of Fire. The Ring of Fire is the rim of the Pacific Ocean.
Okay, do they have any earthquakes or
No, they don't. They don't have earthquakes or volcanoes around there.
Let me guess. Do they have
No
any...
fair. Oh my God! They're so lucky that, like, oh my God! Look at those.
Yeah, they're so lucky to
They're
have a
glowing
big...
towers.
Guys, don't overdo it.
Yeah, they're so
It's
lucky.
actually amazing.
Yeah, it's no fair. They get to have a nicer city. Wow. Why did they call it
Can
a
they
new
speak a
city?
different language?
They speak Arabic, Cleo.
Can
Yeah.
they speak English?
A lot of people speak English there. Okay.
Yeah, but they don't understand us.
We're going to talk a little bit more about the United Arab Emirates. So the country got very rich. The next thing that happened was that it was already the 1960s. The British Empire was basically disappearing. Britain had fought in some countries to keep their colonies. They had tried in India very hard to keep it and they had lost it. Eventually, Britain realized they really could not keep any country that did not want strongly to be part of their empire, and they just started letting go of things quickly. And so they let go of these emirates without a fight. And so 1968, Britain left. In 1971, the United Arab Emirates got together as a country. There are 7 different emirates. The largest one is Abu Dhabi, which contains most of the area of the country. So Abu Dhabi became the capital. And Abu Dhabi is also a very wealthy city. And a lot of people go there, and we'll probably go there too, but it's just not quite as over the top as Dubai. Dubai really has the most amazing stuff.
Yeah.
But Dubai is a different emirate. That's a smaller emirate. They invited Qatar to join the United Arab Emirates, but Qatar said no. They wanted to do their own thing
What's a
and be
Qatar?
Qatar's another country. We're going to talk about it in a second. So the United Arab Emirates is not really what we would call a democracy. It's governed by a council, so it's not a dictatorship. Every emirate gets 1 seat on the council, but each emirate is kind of like a little kingdom. So it's kind of like a bunch of little monarchies that are kind of stuck together and kind of share in the governing. But it's not really a democracy where everybody votes. I don't think you can, by voting, you can change who the emir of one of the emirates is, although the emirates can kind of vote among each other to decide who is running the country. And
themselves, maybe.
remember that they have, their religion is all Islam. They have a very strict form of Islam, right? Different countries have different degrees to which they follow the rules of Islam in their society. And in these countries, it's very strict. Women do not have a lot of rights. They're not expected to be on their own without a male companion. They're expected to dress in a certain way. And the law, the foremost law of the country is religious law, what's called Sharia. And the judges who decide cases in these countries, they decide a lot of those cases according to Sharia religious law. A lot of the people in the United Arab Emirates, in fact, most of the people who live in the United Arab Emirates are not citizens. They were not born in the country. Because there's so much building going on there, there's so much industry going on, they need a lot of people who come from other parts of Asia, places like India, places like Philippines. So most of the people who live in United Arab Emirates are not citizens, and they do not have a right to share in the wealth of the country. So actually there's a lot of people there who don't have a lot of rights and are very poor because they were not born in United Arab Emirates, and they do not have don't have citizenship. So we talked about some of the amazing places that we saw. The tallest building in the world, the Burj Al Khalifa or the Burj Dubai, the hotel that's shaped like a sail, the Burj Al Arab Hotel, Palm Islands, and then there's also another group of islands that were built in the shape of the whole world, like a map of the whole world. So let's look a little bit at the top 10 things to do in Dubai.
Number 1, Dubai Desert Safari. You can book this amazing desert safari experience for as little as $30 per person. Number 2, Burj Khalifa. Burj Khalifa was built because Sheikh wanted to put Dubai on the map with something really sensational. With a total height of 830 meters, the Burj Khalifa is the tallest structure in the world. It includes 30,000 homes, 9 hotels, Dubai Mall, artificial lake, and much more. The tickets to visit the building are very expensive and vary depending on which floor you want to go to. Check the description for ticket prices and online reservation. Number 3, Dubai Marina. Dubai Marina is an artificial canal city built along a 3-kilometer stretch of Persian Gulf shoreline. The marina is entirely man-made, and upon completion, it is claimed to be the world's largest man-made marina. Number 4, the waterfront market. In 2017, a new modern food market was constructed and sellers relocated from old Deira fish market to waterfront market. In addition to fresh meat, fish, vegetables and fruits, the market offers restaurants, bars and a large supermarket. Number 5, shopping malls. Mall of the Emirates features many leisure activities such as an entire indoor ski slopes area, also known as Ski Dubai, Dubai Community Theatre and Art Center, and many more. Number 6, beach. There are many free public beach places in Dubai, for example, JBR Beach, Jumeirah Open Beach, and Kitesurfing Beach. Number 7, the Dubai Fountain. The Dubai Fountain is the world's largest choreographed fountain system. It is located on a man-made Burj Khalifa lake, illuminated by over 6,000 lights and 25 colored projectors. It is 75 meters long and shoots water up to 152 meters. It is accompanied by a range of classical, contemporary Arabic, and world music. Number 8, Burj Al Arab. Burj Al Arab stands on an artificial island. The shape of the structure is designed to mimic the sail of a ship. Although officially a 5-star hotel, it is frequently described as the world's only 7-star hotel. Number 9, Gold Souk. Gold Souk is a traditional market or souk in Dubai. The market consists of over 380 retailers, most of whom are jewelry traders. Approximately 10 tons of gold is present at any given time in the souk. Number 10, Al Fahiri. Al Fahiri is a Dubai historical neighborhood built using traditional building materials. The quarter was built in the early 1900s by merchants from Persian town of Bastak, who came to Dubai to take advantage of tax breaks granted by the Sheikh. The buildings are currently used for art exhibits, museums, and cultural and artistic societies.
One thing about United Arab Emirates and a lot of the Arabian countries is that they have a sport that's very important to them that we don't do in the United States, and it involves training falcons to hunt. And so I wanted to show you this because it's something really different that they do in United Arab Emirates that they don't do in most of the world. So you can learn a little about what it's like to be someone who trains falcons and trains them to hunt.
Falcon was very special to us in the old days. We used them to hunt and feed. Person who has a falcon almost like have a weapon. We are racing a 400 meter today, and it's a special moment really to race.
There are lots of things that he need to do. First of all, he need to keep the falcon flapping, because if the falcon see you standing, not moving, then he relax. He knows that he will catch you. So the catcher has to go backward to let the falcon keeps coming.
And then come back, and there you go. You have the food in the other hand. So this is the price for him to feed there.
Once they catch the falcon, they bring it there, make it relax. They spray water on the falcon sometime in his mouth too. They let him settle, and then they give him the food to eat. And then when he's calm, then they put the mask, and then they put him in the car so he doesn't hurt himself.
But how do they catch the falcon?
Well, they breed them. You remember what it's like to breed?
No, I don't.
Breeding means that you have a male falcon, you put it together with a female falcon to make sure that you get the combination that you want. And then when the female falcon lays an egg, you grow up the baby falcon from an egg to get it very used to human. As soon as the falcon comes out of the egg, it's handled by humans to get it used to being handled by humans. All right, we're going to talk about Qatar and Bahrain quickly. So if you look at Qatar over here, do you notice anything about?
It's more smaller than the Emirates.
It's smaller than United Arab Emirates. It's one of the smaller countries in the world. But what kind of land is Qatar? It's not an island, right? It's a peninsula. So it's a peninsula on a peninsula, right? So the Qatar Peninsula, people have been talking about that in history for thousands of years, and they've been mentioning the Qatar Peninsula and the people of the Qatar Peninsula. Now, the Qatar was conquered by the Ottoman Empire, and so it was a part of the Ottoman Empire. I don't think they ever got to United Arab Emirates. That was about the farthest they got. So they were under the control of Ottoman Empire until the end of World War I.
Did they get Saudi Arabia?
They probably had the northern part of Saudi Arabia. You remember we talked about that, how the House of Saud were the ones who helped to force out the Ottomans out of the north. And then of course, the end of World War I, the Ottoman Empire got broken up. So after the Ottoman Empire got forced to leave Qatar became
Independent.
well, it didn't become independent yet. First, it became, like United Arab Emirates, a protectorate of the British Empire. So Britain basically had the same deal with them. We'll protect you. We'll handle your foreign relations. You trade with us. And again, at the same time, in the late 1960s, Britain walked away from those obligations or the protection racket, whatever you want to call it, that they had going on. And Qatar became an independent country. They declined. They decided not to join the United Arab Emirates. They are a monarchy, so they have a king. It's the Al Thani family who has been running Qatar for a very long time. That's their royal family.
Is they still kept running?
They do. That's the only family, royal family that they've had in Qatar, certainly since independence. So Doha is the capital. Qatar is, of course, another very wealthy country, but they never quite decided to make themselves into a magnet for tourism the way United Arab Emirates did. All these countries, remember, they used to, just 100 years ago, there used to be like nothing, you know? Just basically fisherman shacks and pearl diver shacks.
But
and
soon
it's
they
just
became
complete.
wealthy.
Right, from oil. Oil can change things just overnight, the amount of money.
Was there any other countries who found oil?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other countries, which are, of course, Saudi Arabia is a very
Bahrain?
oil-rich country.
How about Bahrain?
Bahrain, yeah, Bahrain too. Kuwait, also.
What is that?
I think that's a statue for like some kind of sports stadium. Those are the old fishing boats that they turned into a tourist attraction, I think. Look, they were once a fishing village for pearl diving, so that's their oyster statue.
What about that?
Do they still dive for oysters?
I don't think this is the right one. I don't think this is the And the last country that we're going to talk about is Bahrain. So can you see Bahrain over here?
It kinda looks like an island.
It is an island. So there's actually a bunch, there's a big island, there's a few little islands over there, but there's one main island. So Bahrain is really one of the tiniest countries in the world. There's very few countries that are smaller than Bahrain, but there are a couple of other very small countries. And the capital of Bahrain is called Manama. It sounds like Panama, but it has nothing to do with Panama. It's on the opposite side of the world. They were actually, the Portuguese did take over Bahrain and ruled Bahrain for about 100 years in the 16th century. Then the British kicked them out. It became a British protectorate until 1971. The same year as all the other countries. It's now what's called an Islamic constitutional monarchy. So there is a king of Bahrain, but there's also representatives like a parliament, and they also follow Islamic law, Sharia. The royal family of Bahrain is the Al Khalifa family, and one thing that's important to know about Bahrain is that unlike Qatar and United Arab Emirates, most of the people who live in Bahrain belong to the Shia Muslim group, the same as in Iran. The rest of the Arabian Peninsula is mostly Sunni Muslim, and there's a lot of fighting between the Shia and Sunni Muslims. So the royal family of Bahrain is Sunni Muslim, but most of the people are Shia Muslim. So Bahrain is actually somewhat of like an unstable country, because the people follow, to them, what's a completely different religion than the rulers. And not long ago, they had almost a civil war in Bahrain because of that.
Is it calm now?
Right now, to the best of my knowledge, it is.
Is it safe?
I'm not sure. You know, before I went to Bahrain, I would probably want to do some research about that and find out if it was totally safe for us to go. So this is going to show us a little about what it's like in the street in Bahrain.
And a mosque in the distance. And on the other side of the street, that really cool building. It has some wind turbines on top to generate some electricity. I'll show you those when we get closer. Here you can see the wind turbines, however you say that. I think there's a little walkway out there too. Pretty cool building. Another cool building right across the street from the pointy one. That says the Manama Gate. That's what I'm going with, Manama. It's probably wrong. This is, I guess, the main drag down here. Just little laps around. It's also a road. These are all jewelers here.
So you guys going to be able, after this, you'll be able to show me Bahrain, Qatar, United Arab Emirates on a map? Most Americans never heard of Bahrain. You guys already know more countries than most Americans ever heard of. And probably Qatar also, most Americans couldn't find it on a map. So that's it, guys. United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, and you've done Saudi Arabia before. So now you've done most of the countries on the Arabian Peninsula.
Except for Oman and
You haven't
Yemen.
done Oman, Yemen, and also Kuwait. We'll probably combine Kuwait with we do Iraq another time. But we'll do something very different, I think, the next country. We'll go back to South America probably to do something different. So that's all for now. United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain on the Arabian Peninsula.
Yeah.
Countries of the world.
Bye-bye.